But it's time, that music means it's time for Free Speech Fridays. We get a couple of people who don't mind speaking their mind and have something in it to discuss the issues of the week and generally chew the fat. We have a new panellist with us this morning, lawyer Sue Barker, who we had on the program to talk about the Waipareira Trust. She was smart, she knew what she was on about, she sounded like fun. So a very warm welcome to you, Sue Barker. Welcome to Free Speech Fridays.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning.
Lovely to have you with us. And also, I was going to call her, just one of the old regulars, but I think that undersells her. She's a local body politician. She's been a national politician. She's been at the centre of the news. She wears earrings. I presume she still does. She's been an ACT Party candidate. She is Christine Rankine. Good morning, Christine. Lovely to have you back with us.
Good morning and lovely to be here. And hello, Sue.
Hello, Christine.
All right, Sue, look, I just want to clear something. Where are you based, Sue?
I'm based in Wellington.
All right, okay, so you share the degrading, I don't know, Wellington's lost its mojo as far as I'm concerned. Nice to know that you're in the same neck of woods as me. Guys, I want to kick off with an issue, and my producer Ben and I, and Ben was pretty adamant to start off with on this week. He said, bilingual road signs, let's not go there. It is such a classic dog whistle issue. He said, I don't see what everyone is so upset about. It's just too trad. But I buckled because people just would not, and I maybe spent too much long on social media. Gosh, it really, really sparked people up, didn't it, Sue?
I personally saw a thing on social media this morning with this sign pointing to Tauranga, Whakatane, Rotorua and so forth. And they were saying, oh no, signs only in Te Reo Māori, we will all get lost.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me, Christine, the arguments for them and against them are equally stupid. I always work with sounds. Do they tell me where I am? Do they give me the information I need? Everything else is largely irrelevant.
And look, that is absolutely true. We're going through, and I don't even know what the word is, in New Zealand, a renaissance, I suppose, and of Maori language. And, I don't mind sharing the language at all. I quite enjoy it. But why are we getting so upset about this? Why is it even an issue? Our country is in deep, deep trouble in so many ways, and we're fighting over road signs. And I do agree that Waka Kotahi must take the cake for the worst government agency in the country, and they should be fixing the roads, and they should damn well be worried about signs. But why have we become so passionate about this? At the end of the day, it's way at the end of the list of things we've got to worry about. Yeah,
and I think that's kind of the point that Ben was making. We had Greg Murphy, former racing driver and now road safety advocate on, and he said, look, neither here nor there on that issue, but to think that Waka Kotahi or any government agency would be spending money on signs or redoing signs before they, fell over or reached their use-by date. He said the idea that would be being done instead of fixing potholes and improving the safety of our roads, that was the thing that drove him crazy, Sue. He just said it's prioritisation here.
Well, from what I've read in the media, they're only going to replace the signs as they become needing to be replaced. And I lived in Wales for a couple of years, and the signs there are all bilingual, and it was perfectly fine, and it's a wonderful way to encourage learning Te Reo. I think that we're never going to have enough money to fix all the intractable issues that we're facing. But let's be an honourable treaty partner, and let's just, Māori is an official language of New Zealand.
Yeah, but Sue, hang on. Now, this is interesting because it's got something to do with your profession. I'm not a treaty partner. I'm not obligated by the treaty. And neither are you.
I know.
Because you're not a signatory.
The treaty is between Māori and the Crown. But, this is our society. We must, as a society, honour the treaty.
Well, no. We mustn't, though, Sue. We're not required to. We should honour democracy and freedom of speech, shouldn't we?
Well, I don't have a problem with having bilingual signs. Māori is
Neither do I. But you just extrapolated that into honouring the treaty and a whole lot of other things, didn't you?
Well, I personally think the treaty should be part of the way we make decisions in the country, but if we're limiting it to bilingual signs, I mean, basically, I have no problem with this. Yeah.
Christine, do you think the treaty should be the basis for everything we do in the country?
No, I think that there is an agreement with the Crown. A lot of people don't understand it, and it's, of course, been changed and played with, and a lot of New Zealanders don't understand the obligations that are there, particularly when there are treaty settlements, and that's why they don't get what's going on, because we don't talk about it. We don't debate it, we don't discuss it, but personally, no, I don't feel I have that obligation. The Crown does, and the way they manage it, I just despair, because we have actually got, and Sue will probably disagree with me, but we have got a race war going on underneath the surface at the moment, and it really worries me in this country that we've got to this stage, because no one's allowed to talk, no one's allowed to have a view that doesn't meet the woke agenda. You get labelled, so people are frightened to talk about it, and we need to talk about it, because we're not going to progress until we understand each other, and we don't.
All right, well, let's talk about it. Sue, what's your response to that?
Well, to be honest, I agree with that. And the way I see it is that it's in all of our interests for everybody to reach their potential. Māori are overrepresented in all the bad statistics, and it's in all of our interests for Māori to thrive. And I went to a seminar a long time ago when somebody, a Māori person, got up and spoke, and they said if Māori lifted their productivity by 1%, New Zealand's GDP would go up by, and I can't remember the number, but it was something phenomenal. And they said, and the other thing to bear in mind is that Māori aren't going anywhere,
So I'm going to challenge you here. You are defining people as Māori, which is in itself racist. Why can't you define them as New Zealanders, as citizens of this country? And surely their ethnicity then becomes largely irrelevant. We look at people as individuals and we assign to them equality as individuals.
I agree with that, but I do think that Māori are underrepresented in all the bad statistics.
Overrepresented in the bad,
overrepresented. And it's in all of our interests for everybody to thrive. It costs a lot of money to have people in prison, to have people unhealthy and in the health system.
But poor people, poor people are overrepresented in all the bad statistics too.
Yeah, we need to be looking after
so I just don't know why we put a race or an ethnicity on these issues. Everyone who's doing badly should be lifted out of poverty. Everyone. Yeah. And we should be colourblind about that, shouldn't we, Christine?
Yes, I absolutely agree we should. And, I was on health boards where those boards made decisions to give Māori treatment before anybody else. And that was a really difficult and horrible conversation that was had. Doctors felt really uncomfortable with it. Look, in New Zealand, we think that if we're going to take somebody out of poverty, we just feed a whole lot of money into that family. That is not the way to do it. I was part of an organisation that gave people a hand up, that supported them to become independent. And wasn't it Abraham Lincoln who said, only do for someone what they can't do for themselves? And we've fallen into the trap of doing everything, and now there's that expectation. And I find young Māori, who I see quite a lot of in what I do, are really, really, really angry about the past, and they have a hate for what's been done to them. Holy hell, we have got to move beyond this. This is the wrong thing for our country, and I don't know if I articulate it very well, but when I see it and hear it, it makes me feel sick, because we don't need to be like this.
Yeah. Hey, Sue, look, while I've got you here, are you aware of the changes or this proposal that's come from the Law Society, or the supposedly independent review commissioned by the Law Society, that the Law Society no longer regulates folk like you in the legal profession, but we have a government regulator appointed that will, of course, have the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi central to the way it does its job. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, it's still going through the process. I've been involved in the consultation, but I don't think final decisions have been reached as yet. Is that right?
Yeah. Do you have any concerns with it?
Personally, no. I'm comfortable with the way things are progressing.
All right. why isn't the Law Society the appropriate body, as it has for so long, to discipline lawyers? I quite like the idea that they are separate from government, that government stays out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk with you about that, but I'm not completely across it at the minute.
Okay,
so I'd
all right.
probably have a bit of, yeah.
That's a very honourable decline. I like that. Guys, I want to talk to, let's have a talk about Ruby Tui and the Weetbix card, which I'm a Weetbix fan. I'm not sure I'm a Ruby Tui fan anymore, but we'll have a quick break first.
A message from the platform founding editor, Sean Plunket.
If you've found any interviews, editorial content or broadcast segments on the platform challenging, triggering, offensive, in breach of your worldview or New Zealand broadcasting standards, we do have a formal process to address those concerns. Download the platform app, listen in and call us on 0800 Debate. That's 0800 33 2283. Otherwise, tough.
None of your tax dollars were used in the production of this message. Brought to you by the platform.
Oh, yes, but all that could change. All right, the controversy in a breakfast bowl. Ruby Tui is, of course, part of the Black Ferns, probably our highest profile woman, female, don't know what the term is. Rugby player. She's really talented and she's great fun. She may also be, and I don't know if she's gay or not, it's never worried me, it's never been an issue. She is required under a contract with the rugby union to take part in promotional activities. One of those is having her image on a trading card, which apparently you can pick up in Weetbix packets. I have a few of them. And I'm prepared to sell them to a bit on trading at the right price. Ruby Tui wanted her card to have a rainbow on it because she is either gay or she likes gay people or pride people or whatever. And Sanitarium said no. And that might or might not be because they're a Seventh-day Adventist-owned company that have got charitable status, but they said no, and Ruby Tui made a song and dance about it, and the rugby union, I think, kind of kicked all this for touch in the hope it would go away. I think it raises really interesting issues, and I think if you're personally, I'm just going to put it out there, I think if you're a professional sports person and there are promotional requirements associated with your contract, to not do that is a breach of contract, and that really your personal views about the things you've got to promote don't come into it once you sign the contract, Sue.
Well, personally, I really admire Ruby Tui for taking that stand. She's bringing her whole self to work, and I think good on her. And it reminds me of that quote by Margaret Mead, that it's what she says is never doubt that a small group of thoughtful citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So I think good on her.
Even though she signed a contract, right, that says she's got to do that and she doesn't get to choose.
Well, I don't know the details of the contract exactly. And what I hope is that actually, according to the media reports that I've read, NZ Rugby are saying that there just wasn't time. If they were going to do it for Ruby, they'd have to do it for everybody else, and there just wasn't time. So, taking them at their word, hopefully there'll be another run in the future and Ruby can be there with her rainbow flag and everyone will be happy.
But why does she get to say that that's something I'm interested in?
Well, why not? I mean,
Well, why?
I don't have a problem.
No one else is asking for it.
No. I know, but she's basically saying, and this is what I read in the media as well, and I'm quoting sports inclusivity advocate Craig Watson, who says she's taken...
Just hang on a second, Sue. What sort of person are you going to be to describe yourselves as a sports inclusivity advocate?
I don't know. I'm taking it from the media, but he says she's taken a stand. If you can't accept all of me or you can't accept this part of me, then you can't have any of me.
Okay.
And good on it.
Well, that's good. I'm hopeful then she'll walk away from her rugby contract.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to be principled about it, so surely that's where your principles would take you.
Well, this also says that in an interview with Sky's Breakdown, she said, I, for one, won't accept lip service. And I think it goes to show I'm staying, and it's for a reason, because there's been some changes made. So she's actually negotiating.
I thought she just played sport, pass the ball, kick the ball, tackle people. Christine, your thoughts?
Oh, look, typical woke world, isn't it? You know what? Why can't we just get on with our own lives and do our own thing? I don't mind what anyone else does, as long as they're not causing major harm. I've got no judgment about anyone. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they're involved in. These are kids getting ruddy cards, well, apart from you, Sean, out of Weetbix packets, and we are conditioning them from the very,
have an issue,
very early
and that is
stage.
that the Weetbix Fruity Bites that I prefer do not have the bloody cards in them, and that's an issue for me. I am feeling discouraged. Guys, I wonder actually with this story, it's a bit like the road signs, isn't it? We would argue over two cats fighting in a phone booth in this country, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think we should just get on with it and stop pushing a social agenda on everything, including kids' Weetbix cards. For goodness sake, come on, let the adults have their arguments and their debates. Leave kids alone, and we don't. We try to condition them from very early. Leave them alone. And Weetbix cards are part of childhood. Just stop it.
Yeah. All right. And now, I want to move on to an issue that might affect in future the very thing we are doing, and that is three people, expressing their opinions in on an online media platform. And you would have heard the promo that we played about how you complain about the platform. Well, there are all sorts of remedies under existing law if you don't like what we do on the platform. But I have set up this organisation so people can say what they think within the bounds of existing law and statute and be unafraid to do so. But the Department of Internal Affairs yesterday released a discussion document, and we all know where they end, don't they, suggesting that a brand new censorship and regulation organisation is needed to cover the entire internet and companies like the platform, and that they seek to, the most important thing, they seek to recodify things which may not be criminal offences now, but may be offensive, and there would be a compulsory code of conduct and a government-established regulator to interpret and enforce that code of conduct. Also, I don't want to be dramatic, but it all sounds slightly Orwellian.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also concerned about that. I mean, I must confess, I haven't read the whole thing as yet. I am aware that there are some gaps in the law. Like, it doesn't make sense if TVNZ is governed by the Broadcasting Standards Act if it does something on air, on TV, but then if it's on demand later on a website, it's not covered. I mean, that is a gap. But I am concerned about the direction of travel in terms of hate speech legislation, which is going off around the world. And if this is an extension of that, then I personally think we need to address the causes rather than the symptoms. And this is what I have been researching for the last couple of years on the...
So the other argument is that the technology makes bad ideas, which have always existed, even more dangerous. And I tend to reject that. I say still be motivated by principle. Technology, how people communicate, will always change and evolve. But we do have laws that stop you doing bad things in this country, no matter what technology you're using, don't we?
Yes, and I think that if we address this at the point of cause rather than symptom, I think there's a nice little saying that sums it up. It says, much like a virus, disinformation spreads through susceptible hosts, and democratic principles such as social tolerance, trust and the rule of law act as a vaccine to the hateful and racist ideologies that are dedicated to destabilising democratic principles. Now, I do fully acknowledge the harm that is being caused online. I understand that, but I don't think addressing the symptoms is going to be the best way to address that. What we're going to do is end up with censorship. We're going to undermine our democracy. And what I'd like to see is the government make the connection between our social cohesion and the legal framework for charities, because by stopping charities out in furtherance of their charitable purposes, we are undermining our social cohesion. And if we could address these issues at that level, at the level of cause, we wouldn't need all of this other stuff, which will only make things worse, in my view.
Yeah, Christine, it's almost like, I guess, our response to COVID. And the response to COVID was evil, terrible, terrible, terrible. Let's just basically shut ourselves down and risk killing the patient by isolation and closed borders because we're so afraid of it, rather than learning to live with it and promoting ways of getting through it and still going on about our business.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree because I think it's an assault on democracy, and I think it's about this government has almost an obsession with getting control of everything. They like to centralise everything. They like to have control. I hate social media, but this is a method of control that we should, Sue said we should be really worried about it. We should be. But, instead of that, we're fighting about signs and Maori. I mean, this is an assault on democracy.
And Weetbix cards. And I must admit, I'm responsible entirely for the order in which we went through and I'm now taking the criticism. I should have done it the other way around, but you've got to have a laugh. Hey, guys, talking about a laugh, I don't know if you saw coverage of yesterday's Auckland budget briefing with Wade Brown. Radio New Zealand not invited, perhaps because Kim Hill called him a nightmare. TVNZ not invited because there wasn't room for the cameras, and same with News Hub. Simon Wilson from the Herald staged a one-person walkout from the press conference and had to sneak back into the room. And Wade Brown, as normal, doesn't seem to give a flying rat's Watson as to what the media thinks. So you've got to love this guy, haven't you?
Well, yeah, good on him for, he's certainly taking an unusual approach. But on a more serious note, these are big decisions that affect a lot of people. I mean, I'm looking from the outside from Wellington, but, you would think in a democracy that all of the media should be able to be there. So I did think it was a bit odd.
There were about 40 or 50 journalists there, so it wasn't like he was talking to one or two. And I must say, unlike Wellington's mayor, at least he turns up.
Oh, zero. I wouldn't, to be honest, I couldn't see Wellington's mayor pulling a stunt like that. But,
no, I couldn't see her talking to the media unless it was a prearranged photo opportunity. Christine, and she won't talk to us, Sue, I might add. There's a blanket ban on the platform from the Wellington City Council. Christine, wouldn't you love to do that? Pick and choose your journalists?
I would have once.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's a particularly good idea for the Auckland City Mayor. I mean, he is an awkward chap in front of the media, and I think he hates it. That's why he doesn't take questions. He gets himself into trouble. He's very raw, and what he says, oh my goodness, often as you think, how could you say that?
Well, I've got him on literally in 7 minutes. Yes. He's doing half an hour with me live on the platform. He'll take my invitation.
I love that because, you are controversial and we need exactly what you're doing to balance everything up, and I'm pleased he's giving you that time. He's not a natural with these things. I think maybe one-to-one.
I would agree with that, and I'm sure he wouldn't be angry at me for saying he is not perhaps the most polished media performer we've ever had in local government.
No, and he's not, he's not got that charming politician's thing. He is what he is, and I think he's got some real talent. He just does it with a very sharp blade, and he's not a people person at all. I'm amazed that he actually got elected based on that, because people like to like you. But, he is what he is, and the media do upset you from time to time when you're trying to do a good job. So he was just taking control, I suppose. I don't think it worked very well.
All right. Sue, how did you find your first Free Speech Friday? Will you come back, or was it terrible?
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm very passionate about getting a better legal framing for charities. So any opportunity to try to talk about charities, I'm happy to take it.
All right. Can I add to, Sue, a new column out from Thomas Cramner, not his real name, on Substack that'll be published in the platform over the weekend about the Waipareira Trust. And boy, there is some interesting stuff there.
Look out for it.
Yeah. And Christine, thank you very much indeed for your participation. Do have a listen online and see what Wayne Brown has to say this morning. Sue Barker, Wellington, lawyer, charities expert. Christine Rankine, local body politician and free speaker. Thank you both for taking part in Free Speech Fridays.